You and I were both born in the 70s, so, the recollection and the coverage was so different. Who the hell knows? I can imagine that Giant fans were livid and partly apathetic, whatever. But I feel like the Giants fan base is as in need of a galvanizing figure, more so than they've ever been in our lifetime.
No, I think you're right.
That's how long it's been. It's been a tough 10 years.
It has been. These last 10 have been tough. And when Tom came in 2004, that was the same thing, right? They just needed a reset of discipline.
Yep.
And it worked, obviously.
Well, let's talk shop, and let's introduce the new head coach of the New York Giants. First time on our show. His name is Brian Daboll, of course, and he seems to have a great personality, great track record, coming with Joe Shane from Buffalo. Coach, welcome to Tiki and Tierney, and welcome to WFAN. How you doing today, Brian?
I'm doing good, Brandon. Thanks for having me on. Teak, what's going on, man?
All's good. It's good to chat with you again. And I couldn't tell you how excited I was when I knew you were going to get this job. And just from having that conversation with you before last season, or beginning of last season up at the Buffalo game, the reality was the Giants, and I was just saying this before you came on, needed a different type of relationship with a head coach. When you took this job, what did you see was the most important thing that you needed to do with the team and really the organization?
Sure. Well, I look at myself first. I just wanted to make sure that I was as authentic as I could be with the people in the building and the players when they got back, and start to build relationships and hopefully build some trust while you do that, because I think trust is probably one of the most single most important things you can have in an organization. So that was really my goal, is just to get to meet the people in the building and let them see what I'm about, be truthful and honest with them, and take it day by day and kind of grow that way. Now,
one of the things I think it's the most important thing. I say this to BT all the time. When you get a new head coach, he's great, but who is he hiring? Right? That becomes the second most important question. You bring in Mike Kafka, Wink, whatever happened down in Baltimore happened, but you get Wink Martindale, as I think is a great hire. The staff that you've built, particularly on the offensive side, what different can we expect from what we've seen?
Well, I think it's one. I was fortunate to be able to do that, but that was a whole process in and of itself as well, in terms of the hiring the people that we brought in. We started with a rather small group in terms of retaining Jerome Henderson and Mike Trier and Thomas McGahee. Brought a few other coaches from Buffalo, and from there, really what we did is we did it all together. So every time we added someone to the staff, we included them on the interview process, to the point where, at the end of the interviews with the last couple spots, we had 18, 19 people in the interview room, asking questions and talking to the candidates. And then, collectively we sat down and discussed who we thought would be the best. We ultimately made a decision. I think Mike is a really good young coach, former quarterback, went to Northwestern, has experience in Kansas City system. Wink is, I think his credentials speak for himself, and T-Mac was here already. And then in terms of just the offensive staff, we brought some guys in that I had familiar with from Buffalo, and the quarterback coach and line coach. Our tight end coach was at Houston, but prior to that, he was with Baltimore for many years, so some of that stuff that they did there. We had a Mike Groh, who was a receiver coach, who was also at Indianapolis and Philadelphia.
Right. He's my quarterback.
That's Tiki's
in college.
boy. That's Tiki's boy, coach, from Virginia.
There you go. Yeah, UVA, you guys stick together.
That's right.
And then we added Dre, who came from college, who's worked in college for a long time, but has some experience in some different systems. And then, the ultimate goal is to figure out what our players do well. And, each day we're adding pieces, we're taking things out that we've had into some of the different systems, and just trying to figure out what's best for our players. And then you add the group that we just added, the 11 selections and some of the undrafted free agents. So we're still a work in progress, but it's I'd say the collaboration really on all three phases within the coaching staff has been very good. There's offensive coaches that go out with defensive coaches and go play golf and hang out, and then it's a really good. We have good chemistry now. Within the first few months we've been here, but you don't get tested on that until the regular season rolls around.
That's true. That's true. This is step one, baby step. There's no doubt. We're talking to Brian Daboll, head coach of the Giants. So, Coach, obviously coming here with Joe, Joe Shane from Buffalo, you guys have great familiarity, great trust, which doesn't happen for every first-year head coach. Sometimes a GM inherits a coach, and that can be a tough situation. You guys were I would think, philosophical sync coming in. But was there a disagreement on draft night? Was there a player that you wanted, and Joe was kind of looking at a different position? And if so, who won that battle, Coach?
Yeah, no, there wasn't. We put a lot of time in, and every staff does. It's no different, here than anywhere else. We put a lot of time into this process, the draft process. The coaches were trying to catch up with the scouting department. There's a lot of good conversations that you have throughout the last couple months. We really got started more towards the combine. Obviously, the scouting staff has been doing it really since last May. And you have conversations, and I think you have to clearly explain the vision for the players that you have on a coaching side. And you have to, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you got to listen, twice as much as you speak. And I think it's important to give your thoughts and opinions, but it's also important to listen because a lot of the information that the scouts collect, we're not privy to that until we really get, deep into the evaluation process. So it was good. There was, we were meeting here, on the Monday and the weekend before the draft, just going through some final things and watching some, different position groups again. And, there was up to at times 8 people in my office, scouts and coaches all combined, having good conversations. So the process in and of itself for the first year was relatively smooth.
Yeah, and I think you got the 2 guys you wanted. And correct me if I'm wrong. You go Kayvon Thibodeau with number 5, and then you get Evan Neal, who's just a monster of a man at number 7. So I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you got who you wanted.
Yeah, we had 2 players that were high on our list. Again, I know Joe talked about this. After the first round, there was 7 players that we definitely we really thought highly of. And we went through, Tiki and BT, we went through so many scenarios the few days leading up to the draft, and I talked about it, at the press conference. Joe carried around these magnets of the players. And, we played different games, like, okay, let's select this guy. This is the first pick. Here's who's left, and here's what we're going to do. And by the end of that, couple days, maybe Tuesday, if you will, we felt very comfortable where we're at and kind of had a plan set in place. If this happens, then we do this. If that happens, then we do this. And, draft night, that first night, the first time we had our first draft together, it was smooth because we really had the answers to the tests before as they were happening, and we already went through it.
Yeah, and the one thing, and BT and I talked about this on Friday, the day after the draft with Kayvon Thibodeau, is that he's got this unique personality, I guess is the best way to put it. Did you guys ever worry about how he'd fit in the locker room? Because he got a character designation, if you know what I mean, even though he's a great kid. But what about his personality in the locker room? How do you think that's going to play?
Yeah, I think I think he is a great kid. And I think I want people in our building to be themselves. And I think that he understands he's a rookie, just like, there's been many rookies in this league before. I think we have a lot of good veterans in our building, but, he was really a pleasure to meet with and get to know during this process, both as a person, which is important to us, and then obviously as a player.
So that's Brian Daboll, head coach at the Giants, and the rebuilding is underway. It's been a rough 10 years. You didn't live it, but, man, Giant fans are wounded, so everybody's pumped up that there's a new regime and hopefully sunnier days. And, Coach, I'm curious about this. The Daniel Jones, I know this is an organizational decision with the money, and not that you care, but you absolutely did the right thing. I mean, because the money's almost negligible. If you would have picked up the option, it would have made no sense, because even if he balls out, you could still tag him, still re-sign him. It's only $7 or $8 million more. So you guys absolutely made the right decision. What I want to know from you, how much of what you did up in Buffalo with Josh, and maybe you could get into some specifics schematically, do you look at as easily transferable to Daniel Jones?
Yeah, obviously you do that from, whether you go from one place and then you're a position coach and then you go become a coordinator and try to instill a system and you take a look at some of the pieces that you had wherever you left. I think you always try to do that. But at the end of the day, you have to really figure out the player that you're dealing with. And this is such an important position, this quarterback position. certainly there are going to be some things that we try to implement and, sit down with him and teach him. But at the end of the day, he's his own guy, and we have to develop an offense that suits his skill set, which he has plenty of skill set. He's athletic, he's big, he's got some mobility to him. So there's a lot of things and a lot of plays, BT, that you say, okay, maybe this might look good, but it's also the surrounding pieces. We weren't the same each year in Buffalo either. So the first year was a lot different than the second year, where we added Cole and we added Smoke, John Brown, and then we added Diggs the next year. So you continually evolved, and right now we're at the beginning stages. We're about 3.5 weeks in of installing things, and it's a collaboration of things. We're just going to keep on grinding out and try to put the best product on the field.
And Brian, by the way, let's be honest. It wasn't the worst thing in the world going up against that wretched Jets defense for a couple of years to experiment with some things, huh, Coach?
BT's a Jets fan.
We're coming, but boy, it was rough for a couple of years.
He's a Jets fan. You got to forgive him. You got to forgive him.
I got respect for you, Giants. You know that. I got respect for the franchise.
Hey, Coach, when you
Sure.
a lot of Giants fans will say this about Daniel Jones. He's just not the guy. It's great. We might as well move on from him already. We know that, because your partner in crime over there, Joe Shane, is a man of his word. He said Daniel Jones is going to be our quarterback. He made no moves other than bringing in Tyrod Taylor, who is a great backup, and you know him from his previous stints up in Buffalo. Daniel Jones is going to be the guy. How do you reassure Giants fans? Not that you need to, but if you were going to, how would you reassure Giants fans that, look, Daniel Jones is going to win some games for us?
Yeah, I'd say that right now, Teak, is these first 3.5 weeks that I've been around him, I've been impressed with his work ethic, his leadership, even when he's with the guys. We just had a little football school right now. Does a good job in the huddle. I want him to be himself as well, too. Mm-hmm. And I want him to, not be afraid of consequences and pull the trigger and attack and have a positive mindset and continue to grow and learn. And I want him to have some ownership as to what he feels comfortable with as well. It's fine and dandy when you're standing on the sideline calling plays, but you're not the one back there in the huddle, and you're not the one pulling the trigger. So I think it's a collaborative effort on some of the stuff that he likes, and continue to help him improve. And he's got a great mindset. He's got some good mental toughness about him. So we're just taking it day by day. It's been a good 3.5 weeks with him.
And it's got to be day by day. I mean, you're just getting to know him and vice versa. But, I want to get back to Tyrod Taylor here because, Tyrod, by the way, he was supposed to start before Herbert, really before Herbert did. He got the needle in the lung, and then Herbert became a star. Is there a chance, and by no means do I try to project, negativity into the start of the season, but if Daniel Jones is healthy and not playing particularly well, I mean, would you hesitate going to Tyrod Taylor?
Yeah, I'm worried, BT. I'm worried about tomorrow. To get into that conversation, that's a long ways away. And Tyrod's here for his reason, which is to back up Daniel, and he's been great since he's been here. And it's a good quarterback room with Davis coming from Buffalo as well.
Yeah, here's the bigger question for me, because I lived it with a solid offensive line for the most of my career. I mean, my career was made because of the guys up front. From left to right with Andrew Thomas and Max Garcia, John Feliciano, obviously who you know from Buffalo as well, Glowinski, and now Evan Neal. You feel confident in those 5 guys up front? And I think more importantly, do you feel like Saquon is going to be confident? And what can we expect from the run game this season?
Yeah, well, it's those 5 guys are obviously very critical to the success of any part of your offense. And they're just starting to mesh together, Teak. Operating 5 people as one is really critical in that area. And I'd say that, Joe and the scouting staff, along with the coaches, have done a good job of, I think there's 9 or 10 new players up front. So, that takes some time to mesh and get to know one another. Fortunately with guys like Feliciano and Jameel Douglas that we brought over, there's, they kind of got a leg up in terms of understanding the calls and spitting them out and communicating to the rest of the players, which is helpful, particularly when you're playing that center position. Those guys have been doing a good job working good communication. I think Bobby Johnson and Tony Sperano have done a really good job up to this point with him. To them, and we'll just take it day by day with them.
Coach, one of the things that comes across as very authentic and very appealing about you is that you come across as very genuine. You know, have a couple of beers with, whether it's golf, beer, bowling, fishing, whatever hobby it might be. You seem like you got, that a lot of people would want to hang around with. And when you have that aura early, people root for you. And despite the humble background and what you project, you know that there are certain jobs and certain titles that just mean more than others. And I'd love to hear in your words, what does it mean to Brian Daboll to be the head coach of the New York Giants?
Yeah, just very privileged and honored to have an opportunity to do this. It took me, the better part of 21 years in this league and 4 years in college, so that's, a quarter of a century to get this opportunity, and, I don't take it lightly. I understand that there's expectations in every job, but this is, the greatest town you could live in right here with unbelievable fan support, and, I don't take it lightly. I do everything that I can do, surround myself with good people in the building, let them do their job, work together, and again, this, like I've said, this is, a few months into it. We know there's going to be some tough times. And I think building those relationships and building trust amongst the people in the building, that's the first step, because, you don't want people, going behind your back, not being committed to the cause. You want them to understand that you care about them and you're their leader. And look, if things aren't going wrong, you can put it on the leader.
Can you feel how hungry Giants fans are? I know what transpired before your arrival, but you had no hand in that. You were doing your thing up in Buffalo. Can you sense how desperate Giant fans are to get this thing back on the rails?
Yeah, it's an unbelievable fan base. And we have a lot of work to do, and, that's what we're trying to do. That's certainly what I know the coaching staff, the players, the support staff, the scouting staff, the people in the cafeteria. I mean, everybody is committed to doing the best job we can, and that's what we're going to try to do. That's what we try to do every day.
Yeah, I'm biased against skill position players, Coach. So I got to ask. Saquon Barkley, Kenny Golladay, and a lot of this is injuries. And I preface that with this: Kadarius Toney, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. How are you going to get the most out of them? How do you max? Because their skill sets from all those guys, it's off the charts, right? You look at him and you say, God, this dude, if he is just healthy, he's going to be amazing. How do you maximize that? Because there's a lot of interesting, positive things you could say, but there's some negative that comes as well. But how do you maximize it positively?
Yeah, you figure out what they do well, and you ask them to do those things the best they can. And then you teach them, look, we have a lot of different plays, Teak, and we can only run them if the guys know what to do.
Yeah.
So they have to put the work in. They have to spend extra time studying with one another and getting a jump start on the next day's install. And if they know what to do, that gives them the opportunity to go out there and use their skill set. That's the first thing. And then they got to do a good job in the off-season program of improving on their speed, on their quickness, on catching balls, and really building chemistry both on the field and off the field. It's a player's game. I've always said this, coaching for 25 plus years, it's a player's game. And we got to do a good job of giving those guys the opportunities to go out there and use their skill set, and then ultimately they're going to have to go out there and do it.
Are you going to have a fullback this year, Coach?
We're gonna have a couple here in this rookie mini camp.
Yeah.
So we had one the last few years where I was past, and
yeah.
If they're good enough, we will.
Yeah, and otherwise you're going to be wide open, 11 personnel all the time. And one of those guys who I think should contribute is Kadarius Toney. There was a lot said about him leading up to OTAs, or the offseason voluntary workout, I should say. He wasn't around. There was what we've now, I think, come to see as a false rumor that he was going to be traded. He's back in camp as of last Saturday. Tell us about Kadarius, his mindset, and how you envision him going forward.
Yeah, KT's been great. He's been here. He's been working. He's with the group. He's picking up things really well, and he's got a really good skill set. He's a good space player. He's good with the ball in his hands. I'd say he's obviously was a quarterback in high school down there in Alabama and had a ton of production in the high school that he went to, and then went to Florida and they used him a variety of roles. It's still new to him, but you can tell he's an instinctive football player. And look forward to working with him.
Well, listen, you're a fellow Baldy, so we're rooting for you on that. You shave the dome every day, every other day. How do you handle that, Coach?
Hey, you got to go with it every day.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yes, you're right. It looks worse. Then you got the Tiki George Jefferson every once in a while.
I lost a bet, Coach.
No, my wife would not like that.
No,
exactly. Well, listen, I want to get to the facility and get a chance to meet you.
I
know
look
you're going
forward to it.
No doubt. I'll let Tiki set that up, but really appreciate you coming on, Coach. Good stuff, man. Nice to get to know you a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to chat with you
back
again,
at
Coach.
You guys. Tiki, look forward to talking to you again and seeing you guys up here anytime.
Most certainly. I'll be over soon.
Right.
There you
Take
go.
care, Coach.
Coach Daboll. Yep, good stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. That was good. Let's react to it a little bit. 877-337-6666.